Well, how's it going? And welcome to On Cupán Tea with the Rev. This week I've had an epiphany. I don't know if it's an epiphany really. A revelation might be the better word. And what I've discovered is that people have been thinking that when I send out my text with my On Cupán Tea, that it is a generic text. In other words, that I'm just writing it for the sake of writing it. It's not that it's actually written with meaning, or the fact that I actually want to know how all you guys are doing. So that when I go and say, good morning, how are you? Or good afternoon, how are you? This is this week's On Cupán Tea. Yes, everyone receives it, but it's individually sent from me to you. And so I am genuinely asking, how are you? What's going on? How's life treating you? And when I go on saying it that a problem shared is a problem halved, I mean that. As Christians, we can be there to encourage one another and to bless one another and to pray into the situations that one another find. And there are some who have really taken that on board, and we have had a wonderful time of fellowship over the last 12 months. But I got a shock because a couple of people went and mentioned this to me in this last week, that they just saw it as a generic text. Well, Mark actually is the one who went and used that word. Thumbs up, Mark. And as a result, that got me thinking, and it made me aware of how people view the text that accompanies the On Cupán Tea. Every week, I am having a cup of tea with you. It's a one-on-one, you and me. And here we are. But you know what? I'll tell you what it actually got me thinking. So, to finish that point. When I send out my text and ask how you are, I genuinely want to know how you are. Genuinely want to know how you are. But it got me thinking, is it possible that when it comes to the promises of God, when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to what we hear at church or at Mass or at whatever place it is that you go or attend, or maybe don't attend, but is it possible that we treat the promises that God has given us as generic? That it's just kind of something that God has just said to everyone. There's no real meaning in it. There's no real expectation that there should be a response to it from us in it. And one of the most famous promises that God has given us, and I've mentioned it a lot of times, is that God has said that never will I leave you nor forsake you. And here's an example I'd like to share with you. Moses is coming to the end of his life. He's talking to Joshua, and he says to Joshua, okay, Josh, you're the man. God has anointed you. God has appointed you. You are going to be my successor. You're going to take over leading these people. You're the one who's going to bring them into the promised land. And in Deuteronomy, which is a fantastic book, I love Deuteronomy, because Deuteronomy, I know this is a side by the side, but Deuteronomy, if you read it, the recurring two words that are the whole way through the book is your God. The Lord your God. The Lord your God. That's 4 words. But that phrase is the whole way through the book. And so what it's actually doing is it's reminding us that the Lord is our God. And so that brings me back to my point. So Moses and Joshua are having this chat, and Joshua, this is what Moses goes and says in Deuteronomy chapter 31. I'll just read it here. Then Moses went out and spoke these words to all Israel. I am 120 years old, and I am no longer able to lead you. The Lord said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy those nations before you, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you, as the Lord said. And the Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og and the kings of Amorites, whom he destroyed along with their land. The Lord will deliver them to you, and you must do to them all that I've commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all the people, be strong and courageous, for you must go with the people into the land the Lord has sworn to their forefathers to give them, and you must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. And so there is that sense that it's for everyone. It's sent to all the people. Moses goes and says to all of the people, do not, your Lord your God will not forsake you. And then he says it specifically to Joshua. God will not forsake you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. So what I'm saying to you today is when you hear that promise that God has given, is it generic? Is it something that you just see that it's just something that God has said to everybody? That's it. There's no real meaning to it, Or is it personal? Is it real to you? Because even though that promise is right through Scripture, over and over and over, God goes and repeats those words. Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. But do you just see that that's just kind of or is it, wow, God is not going to leave me. God is not going to forsake me. I am going to be able to face whatever terrors are coming my way, because that's what that passage of Scripture is talking about. I will be able to go, as Paul goes and says, our wrestle in this world is not against flesh and blood, it's not against human beings, but it's against principalities and powers and all sorts of things. And so the thing is that when we actually go and get up in the morning, we know that God is with us, irrespective of what the problems of that day may hold, irrespective of those forces that are at work against us. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Let me ask one question. Is it real for you? Because God intends it to be. Now, I'm not God, but in the same way as when I send my little text, I am intending it to be real to you. But God, in a much, much bigger way, is saying, my promise is real to you. Yes, I've given it to everybody, but it's real to you. It's you and me, kid. That's what God's saying. Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. I'm there for you. Hope you're doing well. When I'm asking the question, how are you? I'm asking the question, how are you? Have a blessed week. The Lord bless you. Remember, He'll never leave you nor forsake you. So do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. We have got God on our side.